The 114th Congressional United States Congress and Senate is now in action, and one of the very first pieces of legislation proposed is the Keystone energy pipeline. Of course, this is the pipeline that would carry oil from the tar sands of Canada through the United States. It would go through the Dakotas, Nebraska, and south to the Gulf of Mexico. This pipeline would transport oil from Canada, as I mentioned, down there. Now, I want to talk about this for a second for this reason. This piece of legislation, I believe, is going to be vetoed by the president, even though it's going to pass through the House and pass through the Senate, and here is why. It is for ideological purposes only. It is not for practical economic purposes. Heck, it's not even for environmental purposes, and I'll explain what I mean by that. I think the president has opposed viewpoints to just fossil fuels in general, philosophically. Therefore, he doesn't want this pipeline. Because him and environmentalists that think like him, I believe, just philosophically believe we shouldn't be using oil anymore, period. Even though, I don't know about you, I'm not ready to give up my automobile yet. I'm sure a lot of the environmentalists that go to the protests that were held last week in Rochester, Duluth, and the Twin Cities might have drove to get there. Heaven forbid they burn oil to get to their protests themselves. And let's face it, the United States of America is not ready to get off oil. We can't. We don't produce enough renewable fuels, whether it's ethanol, solar, whatever the heck you want to believe and pretend like can maintain the whole country's infrastructure right now to do that. So oil is here to stay for, let's say, another few dozen, maybe 100 years. We're not ready to get completely off of it. And let's talk about the environmental aspects of it. Sure, burning fossil fuels bad for the environment if you believe all the science, which even though we can debate that a little bit. But let's really talk about oil transportation. If there's a way to do it, pipelines are the most efficient and have proven to be the most safe. I know anybody can witness what happened in Castleton, North Dakota, late in 2013 in December, when those rail cars derailed just outside of town and burst into flames. That anybody can possibly think that railroads that go through towns like Detroit Lakes every single day is a safer way to transport this material than pipelines. It's not. And also, the fact that we've got to ship it by rail, ship it by truck, and do all this shipping instead of pumping actually makes it produce quite a bit more fossil fuel and pollution in order to get that oil to the market. So in other words, it's not more environmentally friendly. Now, a lot of people say with these pipelines, not in my backyard. That's a tough argument because if they do rupture and there's issues with them, the cleanup can be catastrophic. It's why I have been opposed to the Sandpiper pipeline coming through Becker County, coming through Isanti County. But I'm not opposed to the pipeline altogether. I just believe it needs to be moved south to more of the farm country of the United States and of Minnesota, where I believe the cleanup would be easier and less damaging to the environment. Not to say whatever farm field that thing would burst in wouldn't be absolutely devastated. I think it's better than attacking our drinking water or our tourist areas and our lakes and rivers and forever killing and polluting them. So I understand that they need to exist, but some people really don't want them there at all. I think that's the president's one of those in those boats that just wants this thing killed. Economically, the the Keystone pipeline, if it is built, economically would make about 3,000 temporary jobs for construction. There'd be probably a couple dozen high-paying jobs left behind in order to monitor that pipeline. And it's true, not one single gallon, one single drop of gasoline probably pumped from Canada through that pipeline to the Gulf is going to be used in the United States. Our money will come from shipping it out, from the tariffs and the taxes that we get from letting the Canadian companies, whatever companies, come pick up that oil and move it. There is definitely an economic incentive to the United States. Heck, most of the oil we pump in this country, we sell. Most of the oil we use in this country that's imported comes from Saudi Arabia. Why? We can sell our oil, make more profit, and buy oil to import cheaper than we can produce our own. There's a variety of reasons why that happens. So, in short, the president has no reason not to sign the Keystone XL energy pipeline. He has no reason not to sign this to create jobs, to help the environment, unless, just philosophically, he doesn't want to. And that's not leadership, and that's not a good reason.